Hey guys, so I haven't made videos in a couple of days. I've just been so busy and distracted, and honestly every time I had the chance and I thought, oh, I'm gonna go make that video, I either get 100% interrupted and have to do something, or I'm just not feeling it, maybe. I don't know. Anyways, but I promised, so I'm doing it. Okay. I've just been really struggling with ideas lately. I know you guys know me. I get a little bit caught up in my own thinking of weird thoughts of whatever, but this one has bothered me, I think, for years. Hence the 3 different baby daddies. I always thought, growing up, we had such a different family dynamic that oftentimes we felt like there was something wrong with it because we got teased at school or we got told it was wrong or grandparents didn't like it, things like that. But the reality of it is that as I got older, I realized that that's all I wanted for my kids, was to have that type of family unity, to have, not so much that I wanted to share my spouses, even though I ended up doing that anyway. But more so that as a child, I felt like I had lots of moms. I mean, I had my mom, who was my mom and my closest and the most amazing, and the one I knew that was like, my mom. But at the same time, I felt so much love from the other moms, these other women who felt love for me. And as a child, I think I took a lot of that for granted. As an adult and a mom, I think it takes a village or a polygamous family. So thanks, guys. So I thought, okay, well, obviously I'm not going to go that route with the whole polygamy thing. But if I could just provide like a mom and a dad for my kids so that they could grow up with at least the mom and dad. When the first time that failed, I was like, no way, I'm not giving up. I'm going to find it. It's going to happen. And then I met Peter's dad, and he was so much fun to be around. He was so much like my brother as far as like the things he would joke about, the things he would say, the job that he did, things like that. He reminded me a lot of Sterling, which I admired Sterling so much, especially in his family and in his, as being a husband. I thought, I want a guy like that. That's who I want a guy like. So, I liked him. I didn't love him. And I think that was part of the problem, is I never really fell in love with him. It was really just more of a, I like him, he's fun to be around, and oh, now I'm gonna have a baby with him. But after him, I kind of went on this quest of nothing. I didn't want to feel anything anymore. I was like, this is useless and pointless, and I'm not gonna try this again. What was it, like 3 months later or something stupid? And I met Bobby. And I remember the first couple of times that he came over or wanted to go out with me, I was like, no, no, go. And I'd make him leave, and he'd show up on my doorstep 2 or 3 days later with flowers and wine or something, some way that he was going to convince me to date him. And I remember there became a point after a while where I started to really like him. And that's when I broke it up. I broke it off. I was like, no way. I'm not really going to like you. Like, go. You got to go. I can't do this. And I broke up with him. Later that night, he showed up with flowers and wine. It was like 11 o'clock at night, and I could tell that he'd been really upset about it. And how do you turn that down? I mean, and he was so sexy. So I invited him in. We got to talking. I woke up the next morning and I said to him, I'm starting to fall in love with you. And if I do this, I'm going to love you with everything that I have. Like, I'm going to let you have my heart. I'm going to give it to you and fully fall in love with you, because I've always wanted to do that, and you're the one. So we talked about it, and he felt the same, and I fell in love. I feel like for the first time, to that point in my life, I fell in love, like head over heels in love. Like everything he did, everything he could do no wrong. It was so fantastic, and I just loved him. I loved him. And when things got hard or things got tough, I fell back on that love, that beyond lust. It was love. I fell back on that, and I thought, we can get through this because I love him. And I don't ever want to love anybody else. I don't even know if I can ever get over this, let alone love anybody else. And very soon it became, I don't know if I can ever get over this. I mean, I love him, but more importantly, or more dangerously, I don't know how to get over this. Like, how do you let that go? How do you love somebody as much as I loved him and then not be with them? That was really, is still really hard for me, because I really, truly gave him my heart. But then I learned through all my little, my self-help things, was that you can only love somebody as much as you love yourself. So in a sense, to try to fix our marriage or try to work things out, I knew I needed to love myself. So I set out to do that, and I did it, and I loved myself. But in that, I found that that relationship wasn't proving to be that I loved myself more. It was proving that I loved him, but not myself. So again, I was with this, well, how do you let that go? How do you even do that? And I've struggled with that because I think I'm getting somewhere, and then he's there. And I realize, I feel that again. I feel like this pull, this connection, this love for him. And how do you let that go? So if I let it go, am I letting go of a chunk of my heart? Am I letting go of love? And he doesn't deserve it anyway. And I came up with a million reasons why I should let go of that, and it's how it's going to be okay and better. But I knew also that I didn't want to fall in love again. I didn't want to try again. It takes a lot of work. I mean, you got to look good everywhere you go. You got to woo. You got to like attention, I didn't want to deal with all that anymore. I was done. I've had 4 kids. I'm busy. And I still feel that way. A guy will ask me on a date, and I'm just like, no, ain't got time for that. I got time for that. No. So, when I found out this news, I had decided that I needed to find a way to let him go, because I didn't want to put so much pain and stress and whatever that it was doing to me to stress out about when I would see him, or when he had Tana, or things like that. So I set out to love him in a different way, because I knew that if I was talking to myself, that I couldn't let go of that love. To not love him terrified me, and I didn't know how to do it. So one day I decided that maybe I'm not gonna not love him, but shift it to a different kind of love, and maybe that would work to how I could let him go. So I set out to love him as a person, separate from our relationship, but just as his own person, exactly the way that he was. And if I couldn't love him that way, but at least respect him that way, and it would help me shift that, knowing that I wasn't going to lose him. He could still be my friend. He could still be somebody that I very much care about and love, but shift it. That was my solution. So I started doing that. And then I started realizing that him as his own person, without being attached to our relationship or the hurt or the pain that happened between us, that I was falling in love with that stupid idiot again. But different. So at first I was like, that's okay, because it's different. It's totally different. It's not gonna hurt as bad. It's not gonna be the same. And this is what I wanted. I'm gonna be able to love him as his own person. And I started to enjoy him as his own person, and see some of the actual trials and things that he was going through that I had missed, that I had not paid attention to, or that I was too hurt to care about, really. And I started realizing that a lot of the struggles and a lot of the faults that he had, I had some exactly my own, just I dealt with them differently. And who was I to say that the way that he dealt with them was worse than the way I dealt with them? Because even though the way he was dealing with them was causing overall havoc on the outside of people's lives, like driving drunk and such, the havoc that I was causing with those same issues was internal, which then projected onto my kids and my life and everything else. So was I not causing the same amount of damage? And I had to really look inside myself and realize that we weren't so different in our damages. So I would sit back and just watch. And I'd leave his house and I would analyze it all the way home and analyze my own life and start putting responsibility upon myself to change those things. So I used his life to awaken mine, to fix mine. I don't know how else to explain it. And then I went to check on Tana one day because she was staying the night. This is one of the first times I was letting her stay the night at his house. So I just went to check on things, make sure things were good. And I standing at the edge of the counter and I see that he's, there's Bobby, his roommate's name is Reed, and Tana. And the house is Reed's house. So I see that Reed loves Tana. I mean, you can't help but love her, even if she is on crack most of the time. You can't help but love the kid, because I'm pretty sure Reed's on crack too, with the energy level he's got going and Bobby's got going. And the three of them is like this little Energizer bunny, and they just stacked up inside. Bam! It's crazy, but they have a blast. It's adorable. They have a blast. Because I don't have that kind of energy. No, I don't. So I'm standing there, and I see that Tana wanted something from Reed. And what Reed did was he looked at Bobby and said, "Hey, can I do this with Tana?" And Tana, meanwhile, is watching the two of them communicate. And Bobby's like, "Yeah, totally." So then Reed says to Tana, "Okay, Tana, but your dad says we have to do it this way. So we're going to do it. We're going to do it this way." And she was totally fine. She's totally fine with that. About 3 minutes later, whatever they were doing, something else happened. And she wanted to do something, but Bobby recognized it's Reed's house. So he looked at Tana. He said, "Hang on, Tana, I'm going to talk to Reed." So he turned to Reed and he said, "Hey, Tana wants this and this." And Reed said to Bobby, "Well, let's do this instead." And so Bobby then talks to Tana and says, "Okay, we're going to do this." But I saw this triangle of communication between two adults to the child, and blew my mind. I was like, wait, what is this? What is this communication that's happening and this joint decision-making that's happening between two adults and a child who very clearly wanted something different, but they handled it better than I would have. So I had to leave immediately because I was just mind blown. So I'm analyzing it all the way home, and I'm thinking, wait a second. This is why my relationships don't work. This is why it didn't even work with Bobby, because he constantly would tell me, "Hey, you got to talk to me first," or "Hey, let's talk about it." And I would be like, "No, I'm their mom. I do it. You're the side guy. Come on now." And then when we got married, it was like, "Well, you don't know him as well as I do." And it had to go me and the kids, mostly Danny, and then Bobby. And in all the decisions and all the things, it was always me, the kids, Bobby. And that's even how our communication went. So it's like our triangle was upside down. And I thought, well, no wonder he gave up. And shockingly that he lasted as long as he did, because I couldn't have. No way. So now what? Now that I've realized what a real relationship should be, because I always thought, I fully believed that if I didn't put my kids first, especially as a single mom, then I was a bad mom and a very bad single mom. You know that kids always go first. So I thought that if I didn't, that would make me a bad mom. So many times I wanted to go with what he was saying or go with his viewpoint or go with his decision, but that I'm a bad mom in my ear would, And Danny had become accustomed to making like almost joint making decisions with me. So she was bad mom over here telling me in it. And I chose wrong every time. And so here I am realizing finally for the first time, right, all these relationships, almost 40 years old, that, oh, that's what a relationship is about. That's how you do that. Interesting. And so then I was almost excited. Like I figured it out. Now I can have a relationship and it can be real and it can last forever because I know what to do. Who do I want? Who, what? But I had already decided that I didn't want anybody else. Like I didn't want to do that part again. So I decided that since I didn't want relationship anymore and I didn't want love and I didn't want romance or any of that kind of stuff, I would then start co-parenting with my baby daddies. For the first time, I got it. I figured it out. I was like, okay, now I can create a relationship with them and co-parent our kids. What will that even be like? I was still super excited. Like, I'm going to co-parent. What? I'm going to co-parent. I felt like I need to go around. Hey, I'm co-parenting. That's right. Like a ninja. But so I was doing that and I did that and it was turning out amazing. The leaps and bounds I was making between them was blowing my mind and I thoroughly enjoyed it. And meanwhile, Danny is like panicking because I had put her in that co-parenting position for so long that she was like, who are you? And what are you doing with my kid? To Tana. And I'm like, oh, I did that too. Sorry. But now she's not your kid and you don't get to be in the loop. Bye. Pretty hard on Danny. Like, I can't imagine the way she felt and how hard that was. I tried to explain it to her the best I could, but I don't think that, well, I wouldn't have got it if somebody tried to explain it to me. Obviously, people probably did, but I didn't get it. But more importantly, I saw what she was repeating the cycle with Jake and Delilah, and I wanted to change that for them too, so that she then could learn something different and better before 3 baby daddies like me. Anyways, so I start co-parenting, mostly just with Bobby at first because Reed wasn't quite there yet. And I started watching him not drink as much, not drink and drive. When he did drink, he wasn't getting out of control anymore. He was really present as a parent, active and fun, and he knew Tana. I didn't know he knew her that well. And he knew her, and I started opening up to see the type of dad that he was capable of being. I knew he could be, but almost as if I was stopping him from being that because I wouldn't release it to him. I wouldn't allow him that. And when he finally got that responsibility and he got that opportunity, he started to run with it and be really good at it. So, but then something else happened at the same time. He then started separating it to where when he was with Tana, I was not to be with him or with Tana. And if I was going to hang out or talk with him, Tana couldn't be there. It was very much like him and Tana or him and me, and we couldn't be together. I mean, to the point, I'm sure you guys have heard some of the stories, but to the point where Tana came to me one day and said, Mama, we're having a party and you can't come. So, I mean, even Tana started to see that this was a very separate relationship. And I thought, that's not really great either, right? I mean, now we're all totally separate. But it was working. So I tried to just kind of sit back more and not be as involved and not go around as much and things like that. And